Hello and welcome to this instalment of Talkin Trim. I'm Jonathon Skinner and today we are looking at the trim panel and capping upholstery kit for the Triumph TR3A. So there are two versions of this kit, one for the early 3As, one for the late 3As. The change in chassis number was TS 60,000, so the earlies went up to 60,000, the lates went after 60,000. This specific kit is for an early car. There are some sort of crossovers between the two, but for the most part, the bits that change were the wheel arch covers, rear bulkhead panel, and a very subtle difference on the door panels as well. This kit basically includes all of the main trim panels for the main cockpit cabin area, as well as materials to retrim bodywork parts, as well as old hardware parts of the cappings. For the sake of this video, I've also included aftermarket hardware pieces next to the relevant material pieces so that you can see what the material is used for. This specific kit is actually been done in a full leather, so absolutely everything is leather in it, which wasn't really original. They might have had the odd full leather order for special orders, but generally speaking, they offered two options from the factory. Everything in vinyl, or ambler as I refer to it, or vinide in fact, actually strictly speaking. Or they had the middle ground option, which was very, very popular, which was vinyl plus 7-piece leather, which effectively means that all the panels are still vinyl and the dash fascia is still vinyl and the rear tonneau cappings are still vinyl, but then the cappings for the dash top scuttle at the top there, the door tops and the quarter elbow cappings would have been leather, as well as the door pulls. So you get 5 capping pieces in leather and then the door pull sleeves in the middle there. So that was a very popular option, and that normally went hand in hand with the as they refer to it, leather seats. We refer to them as leather faced, i.e. the bits that touch your body as you sit in the seats are leather, but the backs and the surrounds are vinyl. But for this specific kit, this customer's gone for a full leather upgrade, so absolutely everything has been done in leather. Right, so I'm going to work my way to the front. Please do bear with me because I have had an accident and have fractured my ankle, so I'm in a boot support, which makes moving quite hard. So bear with me. I'll just make my way to the front. Try not to tread on anything. So, at the front of the car here, we've got the dash top scuttle. Now, I've got an original dash top scuttle. It's the aluminium capping that went at the front of the car. As you can see here in this book here, it's this piece here. Like I say, for the 7-piece leather and the full leather versions, this is leather. And it's skived down. We have a in-house leather skiving machine. So bits like that we automatically thin down, which make it a bit more pliable during the trimming process. As far as I'm aware, no one makes aftermarket versions of these aluminium cappings anymore, so you have to reuse your original ones. This is an original one here. We are looking into getting these made, but we're not quite there yet, so do stay in touch with that one, but most people just reuse their originals. So you get a piece of leather, or material rather, to recover that. Then, if we look at the dash fascia, this is obviously for a left-hand drive car, as it's got the cutaway there for the steering wheel. Now, for our vinyl kits, or the kits that have sort of vinyl elements to them, we actually make those universal, big enough that you can cut down and use it for left-hand drive or right-hand drive. But for leather kits like this one, we actually do hand them automatically. Saves us a bit of space on the leather hide, as you can imagine. As part of that dash fascia kit, you also get material to recover the center instrument panel, as well as the glove box lid. To refer, so the center instrument panel's that one there, right in the middle, and then the glove box lid there. Now, it's worth noting that the 3As, a lot of the center instrument panels were painted black crinkle paint. Regardless, we always include material to recover if you so choose. As part of this video, I've also included the glove box. Now, the glove box is sold completely separately, but it's often an item that you may wish to consider buying at the same time because it's roughly in that sort of area of retrimming. And with glove boxes, they are handed left-hand drive, right-hand drive. This is the left-hand drive one, and we can offer them trimmed in vinyl, or we can offer them trimmed in moquette. This is moquette. Moquette is effectively a short pile wool based material, very similar to sort of carpet, very short pile, no backing on it, and it's what sort of Jaguar used commonly during this era for certain areas of their car, and it's a really plush, high quality material, so it looks great doing sort of glove boxes and door pockets. Now, this specific customer hasn't actually ordered a glove box. So this is from another kit, hence the colour difference. But you would see for a biscuit kit, we would use this, which ties in lovely. And in fact, we have used those for the door pockets. And that's what we tend to recommend on full leather kits. Do them in moquette because it really looks the part. And obviously, hopefully getting matching glove box as well. So worth bearing in mind, glove box, they're millboard, they're creased, riveted to shape. Like I say, they are handed and then either trimmed in vinyl or in moquette material. We are working on getting a flocking machine going so we can offer flocked versions of those, but for the time being, vinyl or moquette are the two options. So that's the glove box section there. Let me just pick this book up while I work my way back, hobble on round. Moving further back, let's stay with the cappings for the time being. So you get a pair of door top cappings, pre-cut material. Like I say, for the 7-piece leather kit, these would also be in leather. And obviously for full leather, they're always in leather. Again, skive down to allow for a much neater finish. It doesn't make it necessarily easier to actually trim, it just makes it easier to attain a nicer finish. And next to them, we can obviously supply the aftermarket cappings, and there's normally a circular rubber section that goes in between those, and we can also supply the chrome ends to those elements there. We can supply those fully trimmed up as well, so you can either send us your original cappings and we can do that, or we can use aftermarket ones and fully trim them up for you, but that's all outside the scope of the trim kit, so bear that in mind. So you get a pair of bits of material there. These are these pieces here. I realise that's not actually a TR3A, but the cappings are exactly the same. That's a 3A there, I believe. Oh no, it's still a TR3, sorry. But either way, they're the same. Then moving further back, we've got the quarter elbow cappings. Same again, material cut to size for retrimming those. Leather in the 7-piece leather kit, and same principle again. That's the hardware fiberglass piece which we can supply either raw like that, or we can trim them up for you, or you can send us your original ones and we can trim those up for you. It's completely up to you, and I have got other videos showing that element there, including original versus aftermarket versions, so just be sure to check that out. Then moving to the back of the car, we have the tonneau cappings. You get 3 pieces, 1, 2 in the middle, 3 there. Now, same principle again. We can offer these aluminium as per original spec. We sell these like hotcakes. So we can supply you with brand new ones there. These are often the parts that are worse for wear. These other bits here are a bit more robust and tend to stand the test of time a bit better, but these often do not. So it's often worth replacing those, because even if there's got dents and divots all over them, it's hard to trim those out, so bear that in mind. But the material as part of the trim panel kit is 3 pieces. That's normally vinyl unless you're going for a full leather kit. So even on the 7-piece leather kit, that would still be vinyl there. Remember, all that area at the back of the car is normally covered up by the hood stick top boot cover, whatever you want to refer to it as, which I may or may not be able to show you. Yeah, you can kind of see it there. Around the back, hood's covering it up there. There you are, perfect. So it goes all the way around. So that's the top boot cover there, which obviously covers up those cappings, which I imagine is why they didn't see it as a particular area to focus on leather. So that's the elements of the cappings and the material to cover those. So just to clarify, material is always included as part of the trim panel kit. The hardware is sold separately, and if you want us to trim up either new hardware or your original hardware, that is also outside the scope of the trim kit. Now, if we work our way back, let's cover the Furflex draft excluder. So on the TR3As, they use this particular version, which is effectively a tack-on Furflex. So it's effectively that moquette material that we use. Ooh, excuse me, almost lost balance. It's effectively the moquette material we use for the glove boxes and door pockets, with a flange on it, and that is used. You get enough there to cover, you're not going to see it in this book, but I can roughly indicate where it goes. So you get strips that go round effectively the front of the door there, but they're actually in the footwell section of the hinge as opposed to on the front of the door. And then you also get bits that go up this leading edge of the B-post quarter panel and round the corner there. So that's enough meterage included as standard to redo those sections there. Now, let's move on to the door panels. Door panels, they're all Just move these out of the way slightly. CNC-cut on our in-house CNC machine. They're hardboard, marine standard hardboard, 2.55mm, all pre-cut. They have the fixing hook on the back, which is for the door pull section. The pockets are open, which was original for that particular version. The TR2s and TR3s, they had enclosed ones, but the TR3As, they left them open because the door pull was semi inside the car, semi outside the car, sorry, the panel. So you can see here, these are TR2s, TR3 specs, where the door pull is completely on the outside, whereas, is it going to show me? You can just about make it out there. It's inside the pocket, and that's where it basically went, was hooked onto there. So it's basically a cord, and these door pulls here are effectively a sleeve for that cord. So we supply that pre-sewn, ready to go. But back to the panels, like I say, hardboard, trimmed all the way around. They have the correct shape hole for the 3As, which is more of a kidney shape, as opposed to the earlier cars where they were a lot squarer in that area. See here, you can see the square versions there for the earlier cars, whereas the 3As, again, it's not going to give me any decent pictures, I'm afraid, but trust me, that is correct. And obviously these have been done in leather, but normally they would be vinyl for most cars that left the factory. They are piped along the top curved edge here. We use levercloth piping for all of our piping where the colours allow, which is, well, I'd say about 80 or 90% of the colours that we supply. We can use levercloth, which is the correct material for piping. A lot of other companies use vinyl to save on costs, and vinyl's a bit more bulbous, a bit thicker in that area for piping in such a short sort of turnover. But yeah, do check out my YouTube video on the differences of piping and the pros and cons of it all. Again, it's worth noting that the majority of the TR3As piping is normally white, but obviously we can offer whatever you want. This customer's gone for keeping it all standardised in biscuit. Moving on to the quarter panels, same concept again. They're all cut on our in-house CNC machine, out of hardboard, marine spec, trimmed all the way around, piped along the sort of leading edge there, up round the corner and up round here. Again, really neat finish on the piping. Again, something else that you do not see many other places. It's just how neat that piping is. No creases or crinkles going around any of it. We take great pride in our finish and our work on there. Obviously, it's got the pre-cut holes in there. I think that's for the hood frame section. Then we also stick a bit of, or staple a bit of loose material onto the back of the quarter panel. And the reason for that is there's a piece of bodywork, again, probably not going to be able to see it. A piece of bodywork just down here at the bottom of the B-post here that's sometimes on show, and therefore we include enough material to recover that should you choose to do so. Then we got the wheel arch covers. Wheel arch covers, they are standardised for the TR2 to TR3 and the early 3As. Any of the cars that had the sloped rear floor behind the seats there, these are the wheel arches here. As with all of our parts, you see a triangle like that, it means the right hand of the car as you're sat facing forward in the car. Obviously piped, we make our piping longer so it gives you something to pull on and grab on while you're trimming it. So all these little steps that we do that really help in that element there, we try and do so for you guys. Right, and then finally got the rear bulkhead panel. Now the rear bulkhead panel on the 3As, you had 3 different versions, early and late, 2 different versions effectively. But then within the early range, you had, the very early cars had a pleated version of the bulkhead, which was quite rare. And then the later ones, oh, sorry, not the later ones, the really early ones had a pleated version, often went hand in hand with the occasional rear seat. And then they switched to a high frequency radio wave frequency weld pattern, as per this here. So that was used on both the early and lates, and this was by far the more commonly seen version of the pattern. The pleated ones were quite rare. Again, do check out my other video. I've done a whole video showing the pleated version and kind of explaining the ins and outs of it, but I'd say 95% we are supplying bulkheads with that weld pattern on, and then the pleated ones are very few and far between. But the panel itself, excuse me, is hardboard. It's molded. as you can see, to take the shape of the fuel tank. It's piped down the left and right edges. It's got the cutaway there for the diff. The cutaway on the diff did change between early and late. So the later one has a much bigger cutaway on it. You've got these cutaways here, which are slightly covered up by the material. That's done intentionally. You've got the fixing on the back there, which we tape up, obviously, to make sure it doesn't damage anything in transit. That has a strange shaped clip on it, which then intertwines with the tonneau capping when affixing it to the car. So that's all done for you. And like I say, the HFRF weld on there, one of the only companies in the world that has the correct tooling for that, and we can offer it on vinyl and leather. Obviously this is leather, so you can see the nice effect on it there. So that's pretty much the be all and end all, I think, of it all. Oh, fixings as well. Fixings are sold separately, but we do supply them. They are the correct chrome plated posi screws and washers, effectively, for those. So we do sell those separately. Obviously recommend you get it with the kit. But I think that's kind of covered it. So like I say, just a bit of a recap. This is the full leather kit, which is quite rare. Majority of the cars left the factory with either full vinyl or with a combination of vinyl panels and some of the cappings in leather, but we can then offer an upgraded version which is full leather. They do differ between the early and late. We can do different options for the door pockets and the glove boxes. Yeah, I think I've covered my bases. And obviously the hardware elements of the cappings as well. As standard, we just supply material to recover your originals. But if you wanted us to do any of the trimming work, we can either offer aftermarket versions and trim those up for you, or we can offer you to send us your originals and we'll do the work for you. So I think that's covered all my bases. Of course, if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Thanks for tuning in. Please remember to like, subscribe and share with other classic car enthusiasts, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.